found that in order to get full coverage on YouTube, you have to have copyright-free music, because I'm all about getting that bag. You cannot get monetized if you have anything that resembles possible copyright infringement. Therefore, I had to change my intro. Hey y'all, this is 2022, a new year, a new time for podcasting. And I had to get a funky beat to basically express what I want to put out in the atmosphere. And this is TNFro. I'm back again. I'm a social critic, thought leader, but I'm more reclusive and cranky. But I want to read, watch, cook, and just share all things that make me happy. My wish is that this increases the curiosity of the listening audience to come back for more and to share with friends. I want 1 million unique listeners and downloads. I want Creative Quality Millie to be known around the world. Won't he do it? Yes, he will. So if you're listening to me on YouTube, click subscribe. Tip a sister. And I just want to thank you guys for listening. And enjoy and get your bop on. Copyright free. There is just so much to talk about and so much to consider in this day and age. Hi, y'all. I have not felt like recording since I left Tennessee 2 weeks ago. I have been in Virginia working. And also helping to settle my father's estate. With my work and learning about estate law, I have decided seriously considering going and getting another degree. I'll update you on that more as that information, I get right in my head about that information. But as far as the podcast, there's just so much that has gone on in the last week or so that I have recorded that I just need to get to it. This episode has the potential of going long crazy. I want to start this show out with Black excellence because there's so much shenanigans going on as far as mediocre white folks and people deciding to go postal, that I don't want this show to become so weighed down by crazy. But big ups to Wiley College, a historically Black university, that at this year's graduation, all of the debts are paid. I think if we had a better and more equitable system, our African American students and any student would not be so burdened down by student loan debt if we could find a happy medium that they have in Scandinavia and in Germany, where it wouldn't be so hard for people to get first-rate education and not be burdened with debt. So big ups to Wiley College. So I finished watching or listening to the Viola's memoir, Finding Me, and I gave my opinion of that on previous episodes, but I have since watched First Lady's episodes 4 and now 5, and I have some opinions on that. In addition to the Jennifer MF and Lewis, as well as other pop culture with 90 Day Fiancé. So me and TNFro is reading or listening to is going to be what this episode is, the whole premise of this episode. I haven't made any other episodes for the premium channel because I haven't had anyone that has basically signed up for anything, because people won't sign up for things if they can still get premium things that they can get for free. So I'm not going to waste my time and energy recording a premium episode or considering a premium episode if I don't have anybody that's going to pay for it. So, but I'll get to that when I get to my writing and my consideration as far as the SCOTUS opinion. But anyways, episode 4 and 5 of First Ladies. Did y'all know that FDR was a full round 360-degree hoe? He screwed Lady Eleanor's secretary and as she dropped 6 kids. She was advised by the family friend and advisor, as well as his mama, that she couldn't divorce him, threatening them to be disinherited. She was pissed off and hurt for real. And she stayed, but she cut him off. I think if they had come to some also give and take, and if she had screwed her female friend, I don't think she would have been as drawn up as she did look, because I do think that women that are sexually satisfied look completely different than that drawn up white hoe. But anyways, Viola, her lips, I can't unsee it. And those penciled in, exaggerated eyebrows, and nobody said anything. I can't. I'm so tired. All that is making me is, I think I'm going to go ahead and re-download. I think I may have Becoming, and whoever is reading that, I'm going to have to listen to that again in preparation for my next podcast, because I did not know that Sasha, or if it was mentioned, that a lot of what Forever FLOTUS, Michelle Obama, and Obamacare, why that meant so much to her was not only secondary to how she was her father was treated in his battle with MS, but I did not know that Sasha was treated, her child was treated for bacterial meningitis, and how the staff and the nurses were just so open to her as a litigation lawyer that they went above and beyond, because them bitches didn't want to be sued, but they did not show the same courtesy to her Medicaid father in his battle with MS. I did not know that Betty Ford and her maid, they allowed their kids to bring a fucking baby alligator to suburban Virginia during his time as a congressman, or was it when he was president? That blew me away. And how she almost OD'd multiple times. But this week's episode 5 truly dealt with how she dealt with the fact that Richard Nixon basically was caught red-handed breaking the law, and how her husband, Gerald Ford, basically pardoned him. There was no repercussions for this privileged white dude. He basically was allowed to flout and break the law, and he basically got off scot-free. He left in disgrace, but that also tainted Gerald Ford's presidency and his legacy. If he had just had the balls to basically do what truly was right and allowed that fool to be prosecuted, I don't think we would have had what we have now with the Donald Trumps and the bullshit of it all. Because when there are real consequences to breaking the American law, that is when people stop acting and getting froggy and acting stupid. And I think if he had done that, we would have remembered him differently. And if he had rerun, he would not have lost the election, because he had some pretty lofty ideas, and with his wife backing him, he would have won. I did admire her fight and transparency for breast cancer. I didn't know. And as I said, her whole addiction was basically spawned because the medical establishment was telling her some bullshit. They were not recommending mammograms at that time for women over 50. And women like her, it was like, why would she? She had never even gotten a mammogram. And she only got one to support her friend, and she's the one that had pretty advanced. And she basically had her mastectomy and was expected to carry on with her duties as First Lady. It was just, it floored me. And it also floors me in my daily work, because I don't understand why you think women can have a mastectomy or bilateral mastectomy and it could be ambulatory or outpatient. We talking about drains, we talking about pain, we talking about not only physiologic pain, but also mental pain for losing something that means that you are identified as being a woman and also having a disease that could fucking kill you. How you think that can all be taken care of on an ambulatory basis? Of course, those rules were written by men that don't really have breasts, and they don't get that, and it doesn't really apply to them. So they make up these arbitrary bullshit rules. But she was the first woman that was able to, she was the first social media influencer, I believe, that basically made it okay to talk about her chronic illness and to not to normalize it, but to basically speak of it and speak her healing, and also just make it okay for people to relate that you can't be strong all the time, and this is what we're going through, and y'all need to basically change the laws to make this appropriate. That's what I like. I think why I completely admire her. I also, the whole idea of Michelle Obama and her struggle and the importance of passing national health care, and even though she was supportive of Forever POTUS, she basically had to allow them to get housed in the midterm elections, and how they came out against Obamacare and how they really came to dismantle it, because it wasn't personalized, but it was necessary. And it not only affected people that look like her and I, it affected every last American. And if for people that politicize this bullshit and want to dismantle it because they don't get it, basically you need to look at and either just talk to her or write her book, or the whole purpose of why it was so needed. But the personal struggle of everybody on her staff, including the once CEO of the University of Chicago, and how that she had to make a decision, her marriage or her job. And I think as a person that's never been married, I can't imagine having to make that decision. And I also can't understand how somebody can be have such a, how do I say this, low self-esteem that they can't see themselves in a supporting role when there's so much good to be done. So I can't understand her giving up her dream job to basically save her marriage when she's tied to somebody that doesn't understand what her purpose was and what she was trying to do. I'll never understand that. And I don't think we are supposed to understand and give up that much when so much good could have been done if her friend, who was the former CEO of the Chicago health system, could have continued to do her job. Let's see, Eleanor, Betty Ford, and Obama, or Forever Flotus. I think I've covered both episodes 4 and 5. I still can't get the Viola's lips out of my head, but I think the focus on what she was trying to do, or Forever Flotus was trying to do, and just how amazing former Flotus, Eleanor Roosevelt, and Betty Ford, their struggles, and how it is really applicable to us all. I think their roles in history were basically amazing. So I was able to watch the latest episode of I Love That For You, starring, one of the stars is Jennifer Lewis. And after reading her memoir, The Mother of Black Hollywood, I understood her battle with bipolar disorder, financial stresses. She basically saved for almost 10 years to basically rent a jet and fly around the world with her closest friend. That's what I endeavored to do. And I think I may have to do that because can't trust the commercial airlines, and people are shooting down these bitches. So I would love to be able to fly in before Machu Picchu and Galapagos and Antarctica and South Africa and Ghana and all these other places. I would love to be able to do that. I only really am close to about 5 or 6 people. I like 11. I've upgraded that from 3, maybe 12 people I like. But the idea of being on my own personal jet and flying around the world and only going to the places that I want to go, I dig that. I loved her biography her memoir, because of the rawness and the transparency, and it was just so cool. And she read it, and it was just amazing. And I mention that because this week's episode of I Love That For You, I can understand the extreme awkwardness of whoever that white girl is and how petty the other white co-workers are on SVN. But there was a part where Jennifer Lewis asked this guy to basically drink her red wine, and is that all you can lick, or something crazy, which goes against the unmedicated Jennifer Lewis of her memoir. And I found that to be apropos for my life. It was so funny. I died laughing, and I can only recommend and co-sign on the fact that she thinks it's going to be a hit, because it's so irreverent and just so stupid that it has to be a hit. This whole storyline is around this girl that survives ALL as a kid, and how she got through her treatments was watching a home shopping network knockoff. She recovers and then becomes one of the hosts of the show and meets all of her stars, including Jennifer Lewis, who owns the company. They are still up against HSN, and she basically tells a lie that her cancer is back, but she's fighting through it. And she's never really been kissed, and she basically sets her sights on the black showrunner or I don't know if he's an assistant to somebody, production assistant. And she does not know how. She's so socially awkward. She does not know how to deal with this guy. All she can think of in her Karen sex adult brain is she wants to fuck this dude. And she's just such a dork. But Jennifer Lewis is basically playing a professional version of herself as the CEO of the Home Shopping Network knockoff. And everything that I'm reading in her memoir, she's doing as a character on this show. I love that for you. And she doesn't care about the lie. She just cares about the sales. It's basically sales over the lie. Work what you got to. Gaslighting at its worst. And the whole thing, there is one girl, she was on Saturday Night Live, and she was also this crazy bitch on Will and Grace. And it's one of the long-term show ladies. I don't even know her name because I'm not really all that interested in her, but I just love Jennifer Lewis's character. She basically, her husband dumps her basically for the same BS as I basically mentioned in the last section. And Jennifer Lewis don't care. She basically has him call into her anniversary show, even though they're going for a divorce, going through the divorce, and her sales go up. And the girl that's going through divorce gets mad because Jennifer Lewis basically holds her to what works. And nobody asked for the deets of her divorce. Again, lean into what works for you, and it's going to get you the biggest bonus. And move on if you don't want to live that truth. You were hired to do one goddamn thing. Sell that dumb shit and keep the sales up and keep it pushing. And if you don't want to do that anymore, then you're going to have to decide. You're going to stay or you're going to move on. But you can't deem somebody else to bend to your will because you want to change when you were hired to do one thing. So, with that said, I don't agree with any of those wild girls. They just basically need to keep it pushing. I also think, and I go back to this because I've listened to Jennifer Lewis's memoir, and I'm going to listen to it probably again in its entirety, that it took her going through and doing the work in therapy to work through what all the things that her mother did or did not give her, to forgive her and to heal herself. She had to get to the point where you can't sugarcoat this shit. You can't forget the crazy, but you got to let it go and recognize her for, Jennifer Lewis had to recognize her mother for the strong woman that she was. She was the oldest over a gabillion kids, and she really did not have time, or probably did not know how to show affection and to support from a mental standpoint all the kids that she does have. You can't be mad at somebody that did not have the tools to basically do what you needed them to do. And especially if they dead, that's like a waste of energy. And I firmly believe that. I also believe that it's okay to recognize that your parents did some effed up shit to you, and it's okay to be mad at them, but you got to also be a bigger person and to do the work to be able to move on from that. Because if you also get stalled into thinking about that and the things that they did or didn't do, you won't be able to move on, to heal, and to progress. And I think it took several decades of therapy and medication to be able to do that, and to come out on the positive end for that. That's why I'll continue to listen to her memoir and follow. I love that for you, because I think Jennifer Lewis has a message for us, for people that are broken and that want to not be broken. I think that there is a method in her madness and in that show that will allow those of us that are seeking more and to change and to heal to be able to heal. No, it's not an overarching healing program, but it's a start. And you can see someone that is great as she is, what she actually had to do the work and to be able to heal and to get to the point of where she is. And that makes me proud that she's also a strong African-American woman doing the most. And I dig it. 90
days or 9,000. I wanna get out of here. Spare me your vows. Did I really wanna be on TV or get married? Was it cool to be insincere? How could you go see how
Rooftop Club Band Camp 90 Day Fiance. I can't make this crap up. And I freely admit I watch 90 Day Fiance with a vengeance. So much so that I will go online to find theme music to basically introduce this next section. I have watched the last week's episode, and as I said, I've been in Virginia for a couple of weeks. I was able to record and get published the week before last episode, but I've been very busy with the issues with my family and settling my father's estate. More to come on that later, but I just want y'all to, I'm going on record to basically say that I hate every single American, even the indigenous chick on this episode. This has to be the messiest cast of 90 Day Fiancé. And I thought Anfisa and Jorge and them were bad. These hoes are worse. I need to punch in his face. Bilal and his wife doesn't get it. How you gonna be, you say you 37 years old and you don't play games and you not willing to play games. I kind of get it that she is kind of unsettled by Bilal's shenanigans, but who doesn't want to basically play games with their kids, and what is the reasoning behind that? Miona in the supermarket with her processed food and that funky chicken Alfredo, and now her soon-to-be mother-in-law is basically saying, girl, you're going to need to cover up. What are these guys telling these girls that they think that it's okay? Their broke asses come over here and they want the Kim Kardashian smoke screen of it all, but he ain't got no money because his bandmates hate her so much he can't even perform and record. That girl in Charlottesville trying to strong arm her boyfriend Guillermo, that's going to be problems. I don't think it's going to last. That lunkhead in Austin, she gonna cut his ass. And I'm hopefully she is, because the steroids basically has set him off. Ari is right. Different city. They in Princeton on her turf, but it's gonna be the same issues. Benny, I love his hair. I love the ability that he's gonna be on his hustle. I don't agree with the shade by his father, because he knew his selfish ass daughter was going to a third world country. Why was he expecting them to have the same experience that they were going to have in Princeton, New Jersey? They're in Ethiopia. Why are you throwing shade, bitch? I hate him. And I hate the Americans' parents because of that. I also cannot stand that Karen and KC. Kobe, run. She's a controlling, manipulative Karen. There's nothing you're going to be able to do because even her grandmama said, we follow her lead. You're going to be unhappy unless you're going to be okay with bending to her will to basically have an active. She's like the woman that will withhold her kid because she's not getting what she wants. And that is kind of illegal in America. I think if you could get a different type of visa and you could basically be in your son's life, you would basically say, fuck that Karen bitch and keep it pushing. I think that's not going to end well. I don't think that mama's boy from Egypt that's not going to end well. I don't think, again, Lunkhead, Patrick in Austin and Thais, that's not going to end well. I just think that I am so disappointed with this entire cast of 90 Day Fiancé. I'm going to continue to watch it because I'm going to be hate watching it because they're horrible. Everybody on this show this year or this season is absolutely horrible. And the expectation of unity, I don't get because I don't see anybody making it. You need a bidet because you can't even wipe your ass and you're expecting to have breakfast in bed because that's how your mama would have did it. Boy, Muhammad, bye. I can't. I'm tired. I'm tired of all of y'all. But that's how I'm hate watching this season of 90 Day Fiancé. You can basically follow what I say on Twitter, or if I decide to post this section on for a premium post on my other social media platforms, I think you'll get a kick out of it, and you'll also get a kick out of my response to your posts. So just let me know. What a better way to introduce Quark Spar, Deep Space Nine intro music, 1993, I believe, to 99, royalty free. Quark Spar, how I talk about just general popular culture and shenanigans. This is the way we should all think about that. I have always thought about Quark Spar. And I was thinking about going back and forth between TNFro and Quark Spar, but I don't think that Deep Space Nine gets the respect that it should get, and that Ugly Ferengi's bar makes more sense for this segment because there's just so much dumb shit that's been going on. Let's just start at the top. In the last 72 hours, we in America have had 5 mass shootings. Unfortunately, the people of Buffalo have suffered a massive loss because a radicalized 18-year-old decided that after writing 180 pages of ranting, white supremacist rantings on Facebook, that he was going to probably take either the family car or his car that his parents provided for him at age 16, drive 200 miles to Buffalo, New York, that has a black mayor, to the east side of town to shoot up the Tops grocery store simply because the vast majority of the people that shop there are black. It's because I trace this back to the fact that mediocrity was rewarded in the previous 4 years. 2016, 2020 to 2020 saw a bunch of dumbasses be able to run the country just because they could. Where it became okay to say the most vile, awful shit and nobody corrected you. And there were no penalties for it. I basically talked about how Richard F. Nixon clearly broke the law. He was pardoned and there was no repercussions for his bullshit. The last MFer in the presidency incited a riot and there are no repercussions for him, his ugly ass kids, and their associates. It's appalling, but this is the reality. This has showed these basement bottom dwellers like this fool that drove 200 miles to shoot up Tops, the customers of Tops, including a grandmother who just went there to do her weekly shopping after she took care of her ailing husband in the nursing home, that it's okay to be so consumed with rage because you are mediocre. That blew me away. And it also compelled me to basically speak on it in this part of the podcast. I don't understand why it is, and I don't understand why you could be in a car that you own, but you could only could be suspected of it being stolen, but that's a death sentence for you, but you could cap 13 people with an illegally obtained semi-automatic weapon and you get taken alive. I don't get that. I find it disturbing, and I'm never going to get that. I'm not going to get why that is a death sentence. Why, if anybody else that looked like me, that would have been a death sentence. I don't understand why this mediocre white boy gets a bye and they didn't cap his ass. Maybe they wanted to keep him alive to try to explain his dirty deeds, but I don't believe that. I don't believe that the other 4 or 5 mass shootings, also considered to be hate crimes, also happened in a very short and deadly period over this past weekend. I am very glad that I was able to be with my family and I felt safe and I was able to laugh and smile, and I was completely immune to the shenanigans of all of you outside of my immediate realm. And that makes me love my family even more because of the protection and happiness that I felt in spite of all of this BS that was going on. We are not going to be able to police ourselves out of this BS, but after someone that has basically inherited a lot of firearms, and I know that I will do the right thing in securing them, restoring them, and making sure that these firearms don't get in the wrong hands. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I know I don't have now nickel and that dime, and shutting up is free. I know that the time has come for us to make decisions to protect all citizens. And the deadly weekend has shown us that we're going to need to make some changes. We're not going to be able to continue this bullshit rhetoric. And y'all are going to need to make it really difficult for people that are clearly unstable to get their hands on firearms. It's not fair for the rest of us to be on swivel and to live in fear because we can't trust the police to protect us, or we can't trust that people that with firearms are going to have the wherewithal to control their impulses when we know that there is nothing between them and their trigger to protect the rest of us. But I'm tired of y'all that means lawmakers making excuses for it. I just need y'all to do something, because this past 72 hours should not have happened, and y'all know y'all need to do something more. And I'm also pissed off of the mansions of it all. Fish or cut bait, bitch. Either you're a Democrat and you are willing to make the right decision, or you are a Republican GOP conservative and you are a dumbass. Please declare, because I'm tired of you making the rest of us look bad. I have just spent an atrocious 3-4 hours doing these learning modules for my job that has absolutely nothing to do with the day-to-day of what I do. I will go on record to say if I received a sponsor that would allow me to do my broadcast or my podcast for what I make daily at my day job, I would be gone. There's nothing really holding me here. A lot of this stuff is just very, very annoying. But with that said, I'm going to continue fussing about just general pop culture shenanigans. In pop culture, the Slapsy saga continues with Will Smith being dragged again. I think I said in my last episode that he was one of his movies was actually pushed back, but we also have gotten other people weighing in on the slapping. Puff, in his drunk or high status at the Billboard Musical Awards, decided that he was going to take a jab at Will Smith. Granted, I don't think I've never thought of Uncle Puff Daddy as being soft, but I also think he also went and was educated at private schools, and it wasn't until he had Biggie and became from promoter to producer and he has his current swag. I do recall, wasn't when he was dating Jennifer Lopez, they were shot at some beef when they were younger. I don't remember. But for him to stand on that stage and says, I hope nobody comes and decides to punk me and try to slap me, but this is all about love. Evidently, what Chris Rock did was not all about love. It was about a bad joke, making fun of somebody with a medical condition, and her husband reacted in a manner that he thought was appropriate. So there's no comparison, Puff. You didn't say anything to warrant a slap, so keep it pushing. I also wanted to just talk about their student protest down in Florida. This is, again, DeSantis, the original Florida man, in his Don't Say Gay legislature that has led to a yearbook in, where is this? Let me pull this up. A Florida yearbook or Florida school demanding that their students, where's this school, by the way? Anything with LGBTQ pride flags, and when they went to protest at the Seminole County Public Schools, this high school is called Lyman High School. This is taken from the Miami Herald. They were told that they had to cover up any of these LGBTQ pride just because they are a bunch of bigoted racists and they're allowed to continue to react in this negative fashion. I think the young people are on it, and I think that is, I know they oversay it, but what does them showing they're protesting the Don't Say Gay bill, what does that have to do with anything? If it's them standing out for right and you're trying to quash their freedom of speech, then okay, go ahead and see how that works out for you. And the same thing, I was just home for the past 2 weeks, and I've added a new book, Genderqueer by Maya Karabi, a memoir, to my TNFro is Reading online book store. And this book was pulled because of the pervasively vulgar pictures in this book. Okay, this book is actually in high school libraries and on some reading lists. All you have to do, Susie Q and Karen Ann, is not read the book just because it makes you feel uncomfortable. Why are you making people, you want everybody just to be as mediocre and as straight-laced as you are when it's so hypocritical? I can almost guarantee your children have seen, have done, have said worse than what is actually picturized in this book. This also goes back to Mouse, this controversy that we had here in Tennessee, just because a bunch of mediocre Karens don't want to discuss these things. They want to limit everybody's exposure to different forms of expression. This march to mediocrity is just so disconcerting. And it's also shameful because this is in my former school system. And how can you conservative, right-wing, mediocre people let this happen in somewhat progressive Virginia Beach? Y'all make my head hurt. This episode is becoming a very, very long episode, and I'm still forgetting to mention things. And in the last section, I had mentioned that Uncle Puff Daddy was weighing in on the evolution of slap. And he basically said on the Billboard Music Award, and this is the last time I'm going to mention this, in the spirit of being free, if you're feeling a little bit froggy tonight and you decide to jump on the stage here tonight, I do suggest you have your affairs in order. And I say that with love. I say that with the ultimate and utmost love, because love wins all, y'all. Okay, whatever, Puff. He was just giving me with those, he actually has a booty. I didn't realize that either. But with those parachute pants, he was giving me uncle vibes. The dude that is way too old to be in the club, causing issues. I just needed to basically put that out there because I don't think I mentioned that in the last Quark Spar episode. But on to rounding out this part of the show, because it's coming up to an end. There is a lot of things, or a lot of people, the news cycle, besides all of the mass shootings over the past 4 days, the news cycle is being engulfed by the potential for Roe v. Wade to be overturned. It has made me think of a lot of things, not only limited to going back to school to get my degree in law, not only maybe constitutional law, taking a deeper dive in that, or as well as just estate planning. The issue, or what I have been thinking about, is people doing their job and staying in their lane. I think about that every single day, as I am the late doctor as far as my day job. But it always appears that there's so many attacks from multiple sides on democracy. I do believe that there are too many people in power that do not put country first. They put power first. The purpose of the Supreme Court is to review and uphold the Constitution of the United States. It's not supposed to have, their decisions are not supposed to be clouded by personal religious belief or political views. That's your one sacred duty. And there's just too much of an opinion about this particular law that has nothing to do what they're supposed to do. It makes me not only think about what is the purpose or the job of the Supreme Court, I also was thinking about which is due process and upholding the Constitution. And if you're clearly incapable of doing that, you need to resign your appointment. Those opinions and side ideas should not reflect what you actually should do. Okay. But are there other opinions that were just as dumb and politicized? Yes. Case in point is Dred Scott. I am going to probably review that decision because I think that was probably the most wrong and the most politicized decision way back in 1857 that directly led to the 14th Amendment. I think about what does life mean, and does the Constitution protect life? And in fact, I did find that it does in fact protects the lives of citizens of the United States, which is defined in the 14th Amendment, for due process, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Well, so what is life? Then you arguably go on to Roe v. Wade that it really, they're trying to define life into some very narrow terms and viability, etc. Let's take a trip down history lane, shall we? Roe basically treated every trimester of a pregnancy differently, drawing a critical line at viability outside of the womb. But I would conjecture that who gives a shit? Because what are you protecting? Life. But the Constitution is very clear in what it's supposed to do. The 14th Amendment of the Constitution states that there should be no law that should deny citizens life, liberty, or the pursuit of happiness without due process. What is a citizen? It's a person that they are born here, and a natural or through naturalization. I would conjecture that y'all are making a very complicated case complicated. Why are y'all getting down into the nit and gritty when you don't have to get into the nit and gritty? First, the Constitution is clear. In order to be considered a citizen, you have to be born. So in the womb, where you should stay out of, you're not born yet. It doesn't say anything about viability. It doesn't say anything about trimester. Y'all are trying to overlap opinion outside of science. But let's just start right there. And also, to be a life and to be a citizen, you have to have a freaking brain to be able to make decisions, to have and respond appropriately to stimuli, and also to control your stimuli. I would conjecture that until you are born, you can't do any of that. That's just facts. That's just science. So why are we arguing about this, about abortion? Because it's not state-sponsored murder, because these bitches, because they're fetuses. They're not alive. They are not viable. They're not a citizen. They're not alive. Why are y'all arguing? You are overstepping. That is the issue. And for y'all to basically you're exercising vast judicial power that you basically what you said, that when Roe was enacted, that they basically were doing, you're getting ready to do the absolutely same thing. There is no constitutional standing for protecting a fetus, because does that fetus have a right? No, because you don't have a right in this country until you're actually born. If you're still in the womb, it's completely outside of constitutional law. And these restrictive laws from the state, and for you get ready to overturn Roe, is outside of what you are supposed to be doing. It is very, very clear. And I'm glad I actually went back to Dred Scott, because that was just so ridiculous. Dred Scott was a slave that argued if he were to go to a free a state that didn't have slavery, that he could sue his owner and get his freedom, to basically test anti-slavery and the Missouri Compromise. However, the argument was, Taney argued that because he was considered property and not a person or a citizen, he had no rights and he could not sue his owner for his freedom. That's why the 14th Amendment was inactive. Basically, that opinion was made moot. It's still less, not even 200 years, and we're still talking about who is a citizen, because at one point, Black people weren't considered citizens. We weren't alive or dead, man or woman. I would argue, I got the science that backs me up. You're not really a person, or your life means very different things. But in the instance of constitutional law, in order to be a citizen, you have to have a brain. You have to be born outside of the womb. It doesn't say potential life. It says it is very clear. And I want more opinions. What do you guys think? It's very different when you try to argue, is a slave a person? Is the fetus a person? No, I would argue not. I think these nitpicky criteria of viability, et cetera, just in case potential, the Constitution don't say that. It really doesn't. And if they just stuck to if you stick to the letter of the law or the interpretation of the law is actually very clear in this instance. You have to have a fucking brain. You have to be able to control and make decisions. Because then you overstep and overinterpretation. I honestly think that and people have, and then you go on to say that abortion is a profound moral issue on which America holds sharply conflicting views. Yes, we do, but the majority of Americans are basically saying, somewhere between 60 to 90% are saying, keep this. Why do we understand it and y'all don't? And why is your opinion not reflecting the opinion of the majority? Because if it were to really reflect the opinion of the majority and not a minority that hold these highfalutin moral issues that have nothing to do with your freaking job, then we wouldn't be having arguing. And we can't have really majority rules in a country that allows gerrymandering, which reflects, again, the interests of the few and not the majority. They just redraw the lines. And you basically get sociopaths in power that appoint radically conservative and moralistic quasi-cult members to the high court. I honestly think if we could clear the high court, because all of them, if you have this type of opinion that is clearly doesn't reflect the majority of the American people, and it appears you are incapable of doing your job because you're so clouded and biased with your own moralistic standings, you don't deserve to wear the robe, you don't deserve to have the appointment, and you need to resign it now. These are just my thoughts. And I know I'm going to have further opinions as I continue to read this 98-page of BS. It's very interesting to that as they were all up in arms because these are public servants. By freedom of information, we should all have access to these opinions and be able to make our own determination. But I find it fascinating that people that's supposed to exercise jurisprudence or prudence in evaluation of constitutional law can go off tangent and write a basically 98-page conservative BS argument for why it should be overturned. When it shouldn't be overturned, we shouldn't be arguing it. We basically shouldn't be arguing it. Even at the time of viability, at no point in the gestation are these collection of cells citizens. I'll say it. They ain't citizens. You ain't citizen till you are freaking born or you have a brain. That makes you citizen. That makes you a citizen. So, and there's nothing in the Constitution that basically say we should protect all potential life. I can't, except for when violent acts happen to women. I think the violent assault, again, and mediocrity on women, because you can't have a paternalistic society and say you are a free society. You can't have it both ways. I think people are going to have to come to the determination, what does this democracy look like, and what am I supposed to be doing? Am I okay with cheating and gerrymandering? Am I okay with allowing my own personal opinions to cloud my judgment? Is it okay to be allowed to do those things? Do we need to basically overhaul our whole system because we got a whole bunch of people completely polluted by power, completely polluted by their own extremist views, and it's very frightening. And it's also a testament and proof about why people leave the country, because we can't have people in power that refuse to do the right thing for everybody, that for the majority just won't do their job because they have other things, priorities on their agenda. And I think about what does the Supreme Court justices want their legacies to be? I've been thinking about this for a while as I recreate my father's estate. My father was recently killed by someone that lived in the home, but he had been estranged from years. I found out that he had been suffering from advanced cancer. I imagine the pain was also becoming unbearable, and he was becoming a little bit forgetful. He had become a kinder and gentler shine, but I am still dealing with the memories about when he wasn't that. And it would have been cool to see and experience that, but I still am bereft, trying to balance out those negative feelings, and what I did miss. I remember the rides on the back of his motorcycle, the cool dogs, the music, the pride when I showed up with all of my nerdy certificates when I think I was no more in the 5th or 6th grade. His legacy is a hardcore strength, but tempering it with asking for help. It is being true blue and honest. It is to trust yourself and to seek the help medically or psychiatrically, because we all have our demons to deal with. Sometimes it feels like I can't trust my feelings or I don't feel safe. But now I have learned, and I'm working on being able to trust those feelings and being safe around people that I'm related to. It hasn't been an easy years because I've been running away from a lot of this. And I'm not being made to feel ashamed that one of the reasons why I didn't go back to Virginia Beach, because I was always in fear of being, from a verbal standpoint, I just couldn't take the traumatic psychiatric warfare to be unleashed by, because you didn't know which version of my father I was going to get. I'm coming to terms with that. I'm not really sure about that. Fear also kept me from continuing my close relationship with my mother's siblings. I missed out on a lot of time, so I'm making up for lost time. Even with all this grief and sadness, I'm still able to think, enjoy company, and just being able to experience Virginia Beach as a tourist, coming back, hanging out with family, and just being and allowed to be who I am and being comfortable in my skin wherever I am. I am not ashamed to mention that I'm back at home on the corner of Tennessee. I'm recording this episode, even though the previous section about what's going on the Supreme Court and the reversal of Roe v. Wade, I still think about legacy and what my legacy or what people's legacy should be. I'm also holding people accountable for if they're trying to get in the way of what I want my legacy to be, but also what the legacy of the country should be. I mean, I don't think there are high ideals to know what the laws are and what the principles of the law are, and wanting people and holding them accountable to those laws. It seems like we've been in this jagged right-wing shift, but we can't go left-wing, but we can't go to the other extreme either. I think a happy medium is somewhere in the middle. No, it's not this Joe Manchin, West Virginia BS, where he just needs to decide to go over to the other side. I think you can get the job done, represent the majority of people without cheating, without subterfuge, and still do what you were appointed to do. Because what's the point of voting if you're going to do whatever? You know what I mean? So with that said, I still believe that there is hope. I'm still working on understanding what is all the beef with the law. We haven't heard the rest of Roe, but I'm not going. I want to educate myself so I can have an educated opinion and express it appropriately. I'm not going to go out there and tote a whole bunch of signs. If I realize that I don't do that because it's too hot. But also, is there a way to fight the law with the law? And when the justices see this polarizing opinion and where we all are, the majority of us are on this opinion, this is only a draft. There is still time for them to get some damn sense. And that's what I'm hopeful. There's still time before the final opinions are published. There's still time for lawmakers to do the right thing and codify this bitch. But I would also further conjecture is what you want your legacy to be. Do you want to go down in history as the dumbest appointed Supreme Court on ever in history, or do you want to basically do your job and really uphold and interpret the Constitution? Because you got the tools right there, and you don't have to make it complicated. This is just me as a lay person, and this is. So that's how we're going to end this episode, and I'm going to end it with a positive word. I used to scoff at people making this statement because of its simplicity, or maybe because it sounded more like an admonishment that I was being everything but kind. But then when I started investigating it for myself, that's when I realized that I was confusing politeness with kindness. Politeness is a fake, superficial manner in which there's no required investment, no self-reflection. But being kind is an adjective. It is an action. If you're kind to yourself first, it's like exercise memory. You will continue and be kind to others. Let that sit with you for a while. I'm going to try to be kind to myself. I'll be kind to others. It's very simple, and you got to repeat it. Lean into the spirit of a new year by counting your blessings, giving to others, and spreading happiness. I know I will. And this episode, or this podcast, is my means to spread joy and happiness and light and enlightenment. There's so much going on with aggression and just meanness. But if I can leave you with one small positive thought, start your day with that can change everything for you and just basically change your day. Don't forget to check out Dale's Angels Inc. for the notes on this podcast, as well as other works by CQM and other contributors that are in work or in being edited right now. Also, check out my Instagram feed, TNFro is Reading. You can check me out on Facebook, TNFro is Reading Book Club, as well as my YouTube channel, TNFro is Reading and Eating. And what I'm just chatting and streaming at TV Food Wine Girl on Twitter. Navigate to Writer's Block Coffee or shipabagadicks.com. Use my promo code TNFro Coffee or TNFro Got Jokes, respectively, to get a percentage off of your order. Don't forget to drop me a line at TNFroIsReading@gmail.com. All non-trolling messages may be actually read online, and you can do the same if you are in Podbean or Anchor or wherever you listen to the podcast. And again, shedding light and positivity. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I've enjoyed creating it. Until next time, bye.